Yes, we do workers' compensation here, but there are a lot of other aspects of law and other legal areas which are involved directly with workers' compensation. We've discussed personal injury in the past. You can have a workers' compensation case and a personal injury matter. Um, Almost as popular as Social Security disability. If you're hurt on the job, you can have a workers' compensation claim, and you can also potentially file for Social Security disability, federal benefits. And that's what we're going to discuss today. And as always, folks, if you have questions, please feel free to post them on YouTube anytime you want. You can post them on Instagram as well. I will do everything I can to answer all of your wonderful questions. I have a new toy today, and we'll get to enjoy that when I get those good questions rolling in. So without further ado, let me get situated here, because there we go. There we go. And always, Victoria Murphy, how are you, Rex? Thank you for all your help and information. I'm always happy to help, Victoria. Thank you for your fantastic questions, and please keep them coming. So what is Social Security, and how is it different from workers' compensation? SSD is the acronym we use for Social Security disability. Social Security disability refers benefits. These are benefits for anyone who has a long-term disability that prevents them from any gainful employment. Okay. Unlike workers' compensation, it does not matter if the injury happened on or off the job. You can still potentially collect Social Security disability benefits, regardless of if your injury was work-related or not work-related. Catherine has come in. It's not here. It's outside. We can all thank Catherine for interrupting yet again, but she's fantastic and she does a great job for us, and we all love her here. So, unlike workers' compensation, Social Security disability benefits are potentially payable if you're injured on or off the job. Therefore, disability, injuries that prevent you from gainful employment. Note, please take note, Social Security is not the same thing as Social Security. I'm sorry, Social Security disability is not the same as Social Security retirement. They are two different things. I always tell my clients the term disability is a very generic and overused term. Disability can mean a lot of things, and we've discussed this in the past on some of these videos as well. Workers' compensation is a type of disability benefit. It's a benefit that's paid to you for being disabled. New York State short-term disability, long-term disability, private disability. There's a million different types of policies and plans and insurances that cover disabilities. And people have come to start using the term disability in a very generic sense. Social Security disability is not the same as all other disabilities, and it's not the Social Security that most people refer to in the generic sense. When you hear people talk about receiving Social Security, they're usually referring to Social Security retirement benefits. But there are two different types of benefits, and they are different. Pardon me. So, when most people refer to Social Security benefits, they're usually referring to retirement benefits, unless you're a workers' comp lawyer like myself or a disability lawyer. I always default my brain to disability, but they are two different things. As of this year, the average Social Security disability benefit amount is approximately $1,500 for an individual and about $2,700 for a disabled worker and their family. How is Social Security disability different from workers' compensation? Workers' compensation is funded by employers who pay insurance, and it's managed by your local state. So it's a state-run entity. Social Security disability is funded by federal payroll taxes. So if you look at your pay stubs, it's listed on there. Your employer pays, they take the deduction out of your paycheck, pay it to the federal government, and it's managed by the Social Security Administration. Unlike, at least here in New York State, your employer is not allowed to deduct from your salary to pay for your workers' compensation benefits. Federally, for Social Security, they do take that deduction out of your paycheck to help fund Social Security. What other ways are they different? Generally, in most cases, a workers' compensation claim comes to an end within a couple of years, depending on the severity and the nature of your injury. But Social Security disability potentially could be a benefit that you received until you retire, at which point you continue to get paid the same amount or almost the same amount under the Social Security retirement benefits instead of disability benefits. So that's the two major ways that they are different. So moving along here, and my computer is wrestling with me, but I'm stronger. I won. Who qualifies for Social Security disability, and what are the criteria in order to receive it? Any worker who suffers from a physical or mental impairment that prevents them from doing any sort of substantial gainful work may be entitled to receive Social Security disability. This means that you're not only disabled from your previous pre-accident job, but you can't do any job. You're disabled from any type of gainful employment. According to the Social Security Administration, if you're working in 2024 and your earnings are more than $1,550 per month after your injury, or $2,590 if you're blind, there's a different category for blindness, you generally will not be considered to have a disability. In order to qualify for Social Security disability, you also have to have enough coverage, quarters of coverage you hear people talk about. And what does that mean? You have to have worked at a job covered by Social Security for at least 5 of the last 10 years. You have to have paid into the system for a long enough period of time to be able to cash in and take out. So those are the basic conditions. Your condition has to have lasted or is expected to last at least 1 year. So generally speaking, we tell people you have to be out of work 6 months in anticipation of being out a full year, or you actually missed a full year, or your disability might be something that results in your death, you passing away. Unfortunately, we don't want to talk about it, but sometimes we gotta dig in and talk about the bad things. But those are the basic qualifications for Social Security disability. I see some questions popping up here. Lewis Sparks, been on workers' compensation for 6 years with SSD, Social Security disability. Will be 65 this year. How long for workers' comp? I'm flying back to New York. Everything is 90 days now, living out of state. So you're talking about 15 different things all in one question, and I respect that. The 90-day rule, you need to be out of work. You need to see a doctor once every 90 days in order to keep your benefits ongoing. A medical report evidencing a disability is good for 3 months. We've discussed that in the past. You're turning 65 now. You need to speak to a Social Security disability, a Social Security attorney. We work with a few great ones. These are attorneys I've sent family to, friends to over the years, and countless clients, and they've helped everybody out. I want you to talk to somebody a little more well-versed. I'm here today to tell you that this is a possibility. This is something that you shouldn't forget about, and to give you the basics on it. But to really delve into it, you give me a call. I'm going to get you teamed up with somebody who can really help you out, Lewis. So feel free. As you know, it's streaming across the bottom of the screen there. On Instagram, it's not. So I will let you know. My telephone number is 212-406-8989. You can give me a call anytime. And Lewis, so far so good, and only because, like I said, I have a new toy, and it's the first question of the day, and it's a good one. I'm hitting you with the gold star. You are the man, and thank you for the fantastic question. Melly Mel, my friend, thank you for joining us today. Mel is a longtime contributor. He is a former multiple recipient of the gold star, and for that, we love you, Mel. Thanks. Moving right along here to the next slide. Okay, notes. Can injured workers collect Social Security disability in addition to their workers' compensation benefits? And what types of injuries tend to qualify them for both? So the answer to that question is yes. If your injury happened on the job and is severe or significant enough to qualify you for Social Security disability benefits, whether it was on or off the job, then you likely qualify for both. Okay. If your injury is one that would have gotten you Social Security, it doesn't matter whether it happened on the job or off the job. And if it did happen on the job, you're going to get both. You're allowed to collect both at the same time, although there is a limit on how much you can collect each month. And we're going to discuss that momentarily. You cannot receive over a certain amount of money. There is a limit as to how much your total benefits, workers' comp and Social Security combined. I'm losing use of this hand because of the microphone, but we'll discuss that later. You can only receive so much money when you combine both of your benefits. But we're gonna delve into that. There's a list on the SSA, Social Security Administration website. It's Google Social Security Administration, it'll pop right up. There's a list on their website of the types of injury that qualify an injured party for Social Security disability benefits. And in order to qualify, you either have to have one of these lists, which are on their chart, on their list. You have to have one of these injuries or have an injury that is equally as severe. And just a couple of examples of workplace injuries that commonly qualify people for both Social Security disability and workers' compensation include severe significant back injuries, spinal cord injuries, TBI, traumatic brain injuries, severe burns, amputation, loss of limbs, arms and legs, hands and feet, non-healing or complex fractures of major bones, your humerus, not so funny this time, your femur, the big bone in your leg. When you have a significant complex fracture of those bones, which hasn't healed properly, that could automatically qualify you. Severe respiratory conditions. We're seeing this pop up right now with these long COVID cases. Neurological disorders such as MS, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, epilepsy, severe and significant mental health conditions, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. We saw this following 9/11, unfortunately. There was a lot. Heart attacks, strokes, and certain types of cancers also are on the list. So if you have a question as to whether or not you qualify, the first thing you should do is just check out their website. There's a lot of information on there that will help you figure out whether or not you should qualify. And the second step is call a lawyer. Okay. If you have any questions, if you need help finding somebody, Social Security is a federal program. So there's lawyers all over the country. You can call anybody anywhere. And like I said, we work with a whole bunch of very, very good qualified lawyers. And like I also said, these are people I've sent family and friends to over the years. And they've all been very satisfied with their representation. If you have any questions like that, please do not hesitate to reach out, and we will do everything we can to help you out. I'll see a couple more questions coming up here. Let me see. A lot of good questions. Epic Hood Stories wants to ask a workers' comp question not related to SSD. Post your question, Epic Hood, and I will try to get to you at the end if that's okay. But yeah, I'm going to answer any questions you guys have. I'm here for you. Oh, there you go. You posted. All right, I'm gonna get to. So Epic Hood Story. I just had this discussion. When did we have that discussion, Nick? 15 minutes ago with that client about the appeal? About 15 minutes ago, right before we signed on. How long should I expect the review board to answer my appeal because the insurance company appealed? It's hard to say. I am not, as far as I know, they've never really disclosed how they go about answering appeals. When a case gets when a decision gets appealed here in New York State, it gets sent up to the board panel. The board panel is a panel of 3 commissioners of the Workers' Compensation Board, of which it's a fluctuating number of commissioners, 18 or so. I forget what the exact number is. Some come, some go. It's not always the same. But they are the commissioners of the Workers' Compensation Board. When an appeal is filed from a decision, from a judge's decision, it goes up to the panel. 3 of the commissioners hear the appeal and they make their decision. How long does it take? I've had appeals take a year. I've had appeals take a couple months and come back. It's generally a few months, 4, 6, 8 months. So don't think it's a couple of weeks. It usually takes a few months. As far as I could tell, it's based upon their workload, their backlog, how many appeals they have ahead of you. I think some of the more complicated issues and complicated appeals, they do take a little longer on. They don't just jump to judgment on the more difficult ones. So I have seen more difficult issues take a little bit longer, but it usually takes a few months. It could be 6 months, could be 8 months. So I hope that gives you some idea, and I know it's not very relieving to hear that you still have to wait a few months, but that's the nature of the game, my friend. I see Legal Nurse Diegas has jumped in on Instagram. She's always a big contributor. Hello. Thank you for joining. Let's jump into the next slide. Okay, there we go. So, is there a limit on how much you can get paid by Social Security disability and workers' compensation? Like I said before, we were going to jump into it. Let's jump right in. there is a limit you can receive here in New York State. As far as we know, you're entitled to receive. Okay, let me rephrase. According to the law, your combined benefits, your workers' compensation and your Social Security disability weekly benefits cannot exceed 80% of your pre-accident earnings. So if you take if you were earning $1,000 a week at your job and then you got hurt, your workers' comp and your Social Security disability together cannot exceed $800. And if they do, there's an offset, and the offset brings you down to that 80% level. Okay. In most states, well, we just said in most states, if you do exceed the 80%, you do get offset, and the offset is usually from your Social Security. Your Social Security benefit comes down to bring you down to that 80% level. Your workers' comp stays the same. Social Security comes down, and that's how the offset works. If you settle your case and you get a lump sum award, the attorneys, the insurance companies, all the parties might try to prorate your settlement to determine how much of an offset you should expect to receive. If you look at it, if you take a step back, a one-time lump sum payment of a $50,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 workers' compensation settlement surely is going to exceed 80% of your weekly award, of your weekly pre-accident salary. So the numbers get thrown into a mess. So what they do is they try to prorate or allocate your settlement, your big lump sum of money, over a period of time, so that they can adequately determine what the offset should be. And this is kind of why it's important to have a lawyer who's familiar with the system, who's familiar with the law here with workers' comp and Social Security disability. This way they can properly allocate your settlement and try to minimize, within the boundaries of the law, of course, what your offset would be, or eliminate the offset altogether and maintain your ongoing Social Security disability awards. No one's looking to beat the system here, but if you can preserve your client's benefits, that's really what you're looking to do. And it's very important you have a lawyer who knows what they're doing, so that they can try to get you as much money as possible without running afoul of the law, as they say. So we do what we can to help our clients in that circumstance. And like I said, we work very close with many Social Security disability attorneys who do the same. And if you ever have any questions or you're looking for somebody, please feel free to give us a call at 212-406-8989. I hope this brand new microphone is not picking up me chugging on my water, because that's not what the intention was. But I do hope my commentary does sound better for you all. How long can you receive Social Security disability benefits, and do you keep receiving them after your workers' compensation ends? Fantastic question that I posted for myself. Benefits usually continue until you can work again on a regular basis. So if you are still receiving them when you reach full retirement age, then that means you're still disabled. Then you'll keep generally receiving the same monthly amount. But at that point, they're just considered retirement benefits instead of disability benefits. If your workers' compensation benefits end and you're still receiving Social Security disability benefits, then you'll no longer pay that offset, because presumably you'll be back under that 80% point, and you won't be exceeding the number, and there won't be an offset. So that's generally how that works. Epic Hood, I missed this question before. If I'm getting SSD and I turn 65, will I get both SSD and SSI? So like I just said, you don't get both. One turns into the other usually. It's really the easiest way to look at it. You go from receiving disability benefits to receiving retirement benefits. That's a screening. Ooh. On workers' comp 10 years. My body is a disaster. And in the DMV, I'm sorry, more surgeries. My phone is blocking there. More surgeries on multiple parts. Again, I use my own private insurance to do it. The first time, I think something's going on here. Well, I don't understand exactly what you're saying with the DMV. Do you work at the DMV? But if you're on workers' comp for 10 years, and you went through there's a lot of moving parts here that need to be resolved. If you've been on workers' compensation that long, first of all, I don't know what state you're in. But you shouldn't have gone through your private health insurance if your injuries and the resulting treatments are work-related. Hopefully you have a lawyer, but you should sit down with them and try to work through some of those issues and find out exactly what's going on with the case and what you can do to get some benefits. Let's see what we got here. Lewis, please give us a call anytime. 212-406-8989. DC. Ooh is in DC. Yeah. Are you a federal employee or you need to consult with a lawyer? Give me a call if you need help finding somebody. We'll be able to track somebody down for you. Chris 718 on the Instagram. My lawyer requested an RFA. RFA, for those of you who don't know, is a request for further action for the judge to issue a PD. A PD is a proposed decision to come to an agreement between MMI and IME ratings. Well, an MMI is maximum medical improvement, and IME is independent medical examiner. I think you're trying to say between your doctor, C4.3, your doctor's permanency, and their IME ratings. Once a decision is made, what can I expect after a decision is made? So again, I can't post the question here on YouTube because it's an Instagram question, but it really depends on what the doctor's saying, what the PD says. Generally speaking, a proposed decision is not going to give you much if the doctors disagree. A proposed decision is an off-calendar administrative type of decision that's made by the board after they receive enough information to make some decision to move a case forward. And they're not going to take sides because they haven't given the parties the opportunity to state their position and litigate a particular issue. They can't just say, hey, we believe this doctor and we don't believe that doctor, at least not until the case or the issue has been litigated. So if a PD is what you're waiting for, you're probably going to be left unsatisfied, because if the doctors disagree on the issue at hand, whether it's permanent disability, whether it's need for treatment, whether it's degree of temporary disability, whatever the issue is, if the doctors disagree, all the PD is probably going to say is, hey, there's a disagreement here. Everyone go take depositions of these doctors unless you can work it out. If you can work it out, great. And if not, submit your deposition transcripts, submit your summations, which are your arguments, and then we'll go from there. So if you're waiting for a PD and the doctors differ in opinion, you're not going to be satisfied when that PD comes in, most likely. Again, the crystal ball is in the shop. I don't know exactly what's going to come of that, but that's what I feel and that's what I think. And I hope I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm right. For your sake, I hope I'm wrong. I hope you get a decision that has a lot of zeros at the end of the number, and you're a happy man. But Chris, that's a great question. Thank you, Chris. Fantastic question. If you have any other questions about it, feel free to give me a call. 212-406-8989. Just mention Chris 718, and I'll know who you are. John K. I've been on New York State workers' compensation for 27 months. I got neck fusions and multi-lumbar fusion. Jeez. I was an iron worker with post-concussion syndrome still at the 24-month mark. I've been diagnosed with me. John, I'm sorry to hear that. And John he's stating the obvious. Life is hard now. Yeah, I believe it, my friend. It sounds like a horrible injury. But make sure, if you're at 27 months, keeping with the topic today, you have passed that 6-month period. You have been out of work for at least a year, it sounds like. I would absolutely 100% make sure you apply for Social Security disability. If you need help doing so, please give me a call, 212-406-8989. Derek Lovett, 83. Trying to settle my case. Is there any benefit to settling my workers' compensation case before applying and getting approved for Social Security benefit? Whew, that's a good one. And I feel it coming on. I feel the gold star coming. Is there any benefit to settling my workers' compensation case before applying and it's very, very tough to say. And I'm not doing this because I'm just drumming up business here. You really do need a lawyer. The reason, if you are trying to settle your workers' compensation case, generally speaking, an insurance company is going to want to settle your case with what's known as a full and final settlement. The reason why they settle cases, they want to get rid of you. They want to be done with you. They don't want to have to deal with your case ever again. So part of that's closing out your medical, closing out your treatment. If you've applied for, if you are receiving, if you are expected to receive, if you're in the appeals process for Social Security disability, there's a Medicare component there. And that could trigger the need for a Medicare set-aside. A Medicare set-aside could have some impact on you being able to settle your case. So you really do need to sit down with your lawyer and go through things to determine where you are and where you should be with your workers' comp case, and where you are and where you should be with your Social Security, so that you could properly plan to move that forward and settle your cases properly. Fantastic question with such an in-depth answer that I could spend an hour talking about it, but boom, gold star, my friend. You did it. I love it. Couple more questions here. And then we have to, John K. So yeah, you should have applied for Social Security disability. They denied you at 38 years old. I hope you appealed. And if you didn't, you need to get a lawyer on that right away to make sure you perfect your appeal and do it properly and timely. And again, if you have questions with that, 212-406-8989. Derek, anytime, my friend. And I know, folks, that this is I'm being quick and brief today. It's only half an hour. I'm going to take one or two more questions. I do have people outside, and I don't want to keep my clients waiting. I'm here to help them. One or two more questions. Mijo Tito. Now that my claim settled, I was awarded PD benefits, permanent disability benefits. After the unreasonable delay of benefits, I discovered that my employer changed my work status, falsely claiming my return to work, as well as claiming that I'm working with restrictions. Why, after 5 years after I was terminated for abandoning my job? Why are they falsely claiming? So this is more of a labor and employment issue, Mijo Tito. I don't know if you're in New York or not. If you're in New York, give me a call. I do work very closely with a fantastic labor and employment attorney. He's watching on Instagram right now. I see him making comments right there. But he's wonderful, and I can give you his number if you need some help with that. He'd be more than happy to speak to you and try to help you through that problem as well. So a couple more. Does hip and knee injury count as a separate or just leg for workers' compensation? In New York State, a hip is a leg, a knee is a leg for schedule loss of use purposes. I think that's what you're getting at. They are, if you have distinct injuries to the hip and the knee, they will be rated on their own, but combined for a schedule of the leg as a whole. Thanks. Woohoo. My pleasure, my friend. Here to help. All right, folks, with that, I thank you. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to chime in on future ones. Call me anytime you want, 212-406-8989. I apologize if the construction noise outside is driving you crazy. It's driving me crazy, but that's life. So again, I thank you. Fantastic questions. You guys are the best. Gold star for everybody, because this was just a good rapid fire jump into the world of Social Security disability. If you have any questions about it, please talk to a lawyer. If not me, talk to somebody. Get yourself the help that you need. We're all here to help. If you're looking for me, 212-406-8989. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.